to do a quick video on DHCP for giving out IP addresses. You've already been given the server, and the DHCP service has already been installed. I've shown you how to do that in a previous lesson. So now we're going to actually configure or make active our DHCP scope. So to do that, we go to Start and Administrative Tools. We normally go to Active Directory Users and Computers. We're going to go to DHCP and accept the management console. And because we've already got one, 2008 server 1 is the name of our server. Virtual was the domain that we're on. So if I click IP version 4 and server options, there aren't any. The DNS server is this server we're on, which is 192.168.0.1, and the domain is called virtual. We can see that there as well. You'll see there's no scope. So make sure you've got IP version 4 highlighted and click Action and New Scope. And then we get taken into a wizard. So we'll click Next. I'll call it Test, and I'll call it 192 range. So the description is handy because it'll tell us that this particular scope is given out computers in the 192 range. So click Next. Okay, what addresses do I want to give out? So my server is 192.168.0.1, and perhaps I'll give out 200 addresses. So I'll start at 1 and I'll end at 200, and it's giving me my subnet mask. Now you might think it's strange to give out 01 because that's the name of the server, and immediately we're going to get an IP address conflict. Well, we can deal with that in the next part. I could just as easily perhaps start giving my addresses out at 192.168.0.10, and then I wouldn't have any problems. But I'll leave it at 1 just to show you the next screen, which is the exclusions. So what addresses do I want to leave out? So 192.168.0.1 I want to leave out, and 192.168.0.10. So I'll reserve the first 10 IP addresses for this server and future servers. I can go in and add to that or reduce it as I wish, but it's a good idea to just get some reserved so that you don't get any issues with ones being given out that you don't want to. So I can click Next. The lease, how long do I want my DHCP server to give out IP numbers for before it retrieves them? So a PC can have an IP address for 8 days. After 8 days, it'll query the server and it'll give it the same number back out. If it doesn't contact the server for 8 days, the DHCP server will take it off that PC and then allocate it elsewhere to another server. When that PC gets switched back on, then it'll pick up a completely different one. So it's all very dynamic as it does it. So I'll keep it at 8 days, but I could put it up to whatever I wanted. Click Next. Do I want to configure these options now? Yes, I do. If I had a router, so I might be a small company where I've got a router pretty much like the ones you do at home that's connected to my ISP, I'd put that address in here. So then when it gives out an IP address, it also gives out a router address, so that we'd be able to get access to the outside world via the gateway to the ISP to surf the web. We're not going to put one in this particular instance, but we could put one in there if we wanted to. This server that we're actually configuring is the DNS server, as I showed you, and it is the DHCP server, so I don't need to put anything in here. But this, I could have a separate server that does DNS, and this server could be just a DHCP facility, in which case I'd put in virtual there, I'd put in perhaps DNS server 1 and the IP address, and then along with giving out the IP number and the router address, it would give out the DNS as well, so we can move around our network using names rather than IP addresses, as has been covered in other lessons. So then we go on to Next, Wins servers. This is an old version of DNS, if you like, so it worked on NT4 networks, so you only need this if you've got old NT4 servers on your network. We won't need that, so we can skip it, and it's very unlikely you'll have NT4 servers on the network now anyway. So we'll click Next. do I want to activate the scope? Yes. So I click finish, and you'll see now I've got the scope active, and it tells me the address pool is 200 to distribute, and it's reserving 10, and this will show me any addresses that get given out, and there aren't any at the moment. So I've got a client here. I've already gone into the network sharing center. This is a separate machine, it's a Windows 7 machine. I'll go into my local area connection, go into properties, and I'll go to IP version 4, and I'll, rather than give it number 2, I'll tell it to obtain one automatically. So I click OK, and OK again. And now this has been set up for DHCP. That's all I need to do. And it'll take a few moments to configure that for me. And being as it's a virtual machine, things do go a little bit slowly. So if I go open the run command and I do IP config /renew, it should try to pick up an address, and as you can see, this line here is 192.168.0.11, so it's already given an address out. So this computer is now 192.168.0.11. If I refresh my address pool, you'll see that 192.168.0.11 has been assigned an address as well. So we know our scope is working. This PC has also picked it up as well. If I do IP config /all, you'll see that this is called, it's given out the DNS servers 192.168.0.1, which we know is correct. And DHCP, and the DHCP server is also 192.168.0.1, and it's the virtual network as well. So everything has been given out correctly for us, and the DHCP server 192.168.0.1 is working. So that's pretty much DHCP in a nutshell, and you can see everything that's going on. And then you can refresh a machine, and you can go in and you can end an expiration. If I wanted to, I could delete that machine and force it to get a new one again. So I hope you found that lesson, and albeit very quick, I hope you found that lesson useful. Thank you very much.